Hello and welcome. Tonight, President Buhari visits Benin Republic in continuation of efforts towards strengthening regional coalition on the war against terror. United Nations pledges more support for Nigeria in the fight against insurgency as Army chiefs gives assurance of professional conduct of troops during operations. And aggrieved workers of the PDP call for the resignation of Party National Working Committee over alleged fraud. PDP leadership says allegation is false. And Kurdish authorities in Iraq ask Turkish Kurd separatist forces to leave civilian areas amidst continuing Turkish airstrikes.
On business news tonight, commercial banks reject US dollar deposits.
And sports news, Super Eagles left back Juan Oshaniwa joins Scottish Premier League club Hearts on a 3-year deal.
We start off tonight with the return of the President Muhammadu Buhari from Benin Republic, where he met with his counterpart Boni Yayi in continuation of his efforts towards building the required coalition to effectively tackle the challenge of insurgency in Nigeria's northeast. This visit comes barely days after holding talks with his Cameroonian counterpart on areas of cooperation in the fight against insurgents, including strengthening border security. During his meeting with President Boni Yayi, which coincides with the anniversary of the country's independence, President Buhari pledged to build on the successes already achieved in creating a synergy amongst the Lake Chad Basin Commission member countries.
Shortly after his visit to Cameroon, President Muhammadu Buhari made another trip to Benin Republic for a one-day visit. This is in continuation of his efforts to build a more effective regional coalition and felicitate with the country on its independence. The two leaders used the opportunity of meeting to discuss the full activation and deployment of the multinational Joint Task Force Group, Boko Haram, and cross-border crimes. In appreciation of the warm reception, President Buhari reaffirmed Nigeria's determination to strengthen ties with her neighbors.
I thank Mr. President for identifying with us very closely as neighbors and voluntarily agreeing to participate in Lake Chad Basin Commission deployment of our troops to make sure that the terrorist Boko Haram do not extend this way.
The president has since returned to Abuja, Nigeria's federal capital.
Assurances of strong support for Nigeria in the campaign to rout Boko Haram is also coming from the United Nations, which says that the group has shown no limit to its cruelty. During his meeting with Nigeria's Chief of Army Staff, Major General Tukur Buratai, visiting United Nations envoy Dr. Mohammed Ibn Chambers said the fight also involves winning the hearts and minds of the people. On his part, Major General Buratai promised that the troops will maintain professional conduct in prosecuting the war.
UN stands with Nigeria, is in solidarity with Nigeria as you embark in this legitimate fight against a heinous enemy which has shown no bounds in the cruelty with which it has terrorized and harassed and maimed and killed the peoples of the Northeast and the neighboring countries. This war should be conducted, as you have indicated, in a professionally responsive way, so that at the end of the day, we win the battle and the war, and at the same time, the hearts and minds of the people on whose behalf this legitimate war is being waged.
The Nigerian army as it is now is faced with the challenge of the Boko Haram, which you well know. And since my assumption of office, we've taken a giant stride based on my vision, which you also recognize here, and I thank you for that. The vision of professionalism and responsiveness. We are going to ensure that we act professionally in the conduct of our duties and the operations in the Northeast and indeed everywhere. The issue of human rights, we are going to ensure that we safeguard every citizen and we protect his human rights in accordance with the United Nations and indeed all the necessary conventions, the Geneva Convention and other conventions of the United Nations.
Nigeria must take the defense of its territorial integrity seriously and do all that is required to reposition its military. This is the view of the former Chief of Defense Staff, retired Air Chief Marshal Alex Bade, who has been speaking on the challenges the Nigerian armed forces are currently faced with. He told Channels Television after arriving in his home state of Adamawa, northeast of Nigeria, that the neglect of the military over the years made it unprepared to tackle the challenges of insurgency squarely.
We found out that we had fifth columnists in the military that were leaking information to terrorists. And then we also had challenges of unserviceable equipment. If I go down memory lane, I think the last time any piece of equipment was bought for the Nigerian Army was some APCs that were bought in 2006. And how many were there? There were few. And from that time on, we were not using these APCs, we were not even allowed to use them. And in fact, if we go way back from 1990, end of 1993, from then on, soldiers were not even allowed to go to range to go and practice. So a soldier that is not practicing how to use his gun, what kind of military are you going to have? So those were the challenges we had, that when we were faced with Boko Haram, it became a very big challenge. We've been trying to increase the size of the military ourselves, but soldiers, you don't give me budget and say I should go and build barracks. Barracks is capital intensive. So even if we recruit so many people in the military now, we don't have where to house them. So it's a challenge too that government must face. Government must build barracks for us so that we can recruit more. For a population of over 170 million, what we have in Nigeria cannot be adequate to protect us. So those were the challenges we had. Inadequate equipment, obsolete equipment, aeroplanes. In fact, we are the ones that are flying probably the oldest fighter aeroplanes in the whole world. Alpha jets, we bought them in 1981. That is the backbone of our operations in the Northeast. So they are too old.
In the meantime, the National Defense College wants participants and students of the college to use the knowledge gained from the institution to assist in the fight against insurgency. Addressing a news conference in Abuja, the commandant of the college, Rear Admiral Ndidi Agolo, explained that the courses in the college has taken cognizance of the security realities in the Northeast and have equipped participants of the course with the knowledge on how to tackle the situation. Though Rear Admiral Agolo explained that the college does not engage in strategy discussion for field operations, he said that the military can call upon the participants of the college to assist in the field operations in the Northeast.
There are so many dimensions concerning the execution of the issue in the Northeast, which is not our primary focus in this college. But of course, because of the current realities on the ground, we are currently refocusing our exercises. I told you that we did exercise crisis management, we did exercise repress. All these exercises were built on current scenarios playing out in the Northeast. I'm sure that those exercises which were based on real-life scenarios which have exposed our participants to. I'm sure it will help them to quickly adapt into the unfolding challenges if and when they are inducted into the war or they go into the field.
Efforts to rid the northeast and other northern part of the country of Boko Haram insurgency looks to be at top gear. This is as the Chief of Air Staff, Sadiq Abubakar, made an operational visit to Kaduna and Kano states. Correspondent Loretta Chiogo reports that the training and equipping of the Air Force are some of the major needs highlighted by the Air Chief.
The Chief of Air Staff, Air Vice Marshal Sadiq Abubakar, says there's need to assess the strategies and trainings adopted so far by his men in the fight against insurgency. His courtesy visit to the Kaduna State Governor, Malam Nasir El-Rufai, is an opportunity for the Air Chief to explain more on the review strategy.
They are operating under very difficult, sometimes very difficult situation. But I can tell you that everybody is doing everything that is humanly possible to ensure that we are effective and we are able to discharge our constitutional responsibility.
For the Air Chief, all that needs to a total victory against terror attacks is the provision of support and direction for his men while strengthening their capacity.
You cannot have everything you require. No country has everything it requires. But what I can tell you is that we are putting together, our reports as to the state of our equipment. And I believe by the time we finish this tour, we'll have a clearer picture. But whatever is on ground, we are going to use it effectively and efficiently.
He moves to neighboring Kano State, some 232 kilometers from Kaduna. After inspecting the parade of guard, he moves to the 303 Flying Training School to have a first-hand information about its state. The plan here is to partner with 15 Nigerian universities for the training of its pilots.
We have identified a number of problems that have to do with the platforms that we have that are not adequate, and we are trying to see how we can make the best out of what we currently have on ground. And we believe that we have very competent guys that we can work together to try and address some of our difficulties that we are facing, especially with regards to aircraft maintenance and equipment maintenance. But of course, certainly we'll have to rely from our supporters outside also to support us. But first and foremost, we'll look inward first and see what we can do, and that's exactly what we are trying to do now.
The Air Chief leaves Kano with a promise of revamping the facilities in the institution. Loretta Chiogo, Channels Television News.
In part two, after the break, military says insurgents turned the lab at Dikko College of Agriculture into a bomb-making factory. Stay with us.